My name is Jordan Peters. I'm 18 years old. I'm a born and bred Cape Townian. I'm currently studying at the University of Cape Town. I'm doing a law degree and I'm in my first year. It's always very obvious from a very young age. I love reading, almost antisocially. I love arguing as well, especially about things like politics and philosophy. So I always knew from a very young age that my choices were limited to law or politics, and so I went with the former. So I was in grade 9. I was 15 or 14 at the time, and I was always getting into arguments with my teachers. And one day this teacher noticed and he said, you know what, I have a project for you. And he sent me here during the holidays, and 4 or 5 years later, here I am. What happened was it was a law project from UCT, and that subsequently led me to what I'm studying at the moment. So it really has had quite a profound effect on me. I think Born Free is just a title like the Rainbow Nation. It's just another thing that the government regurgitates on us to make us believe or to make us have this sense of freedom, when in actual fact, when in reality, our people are living in poverty, our women are being raped, our children are starving, and then but we've born free, and we need to be thankful that we're born free. Do not forget that you are born free. Limpopo doesn't have textbooks, the Eastern Cape's education system is in shambles, but do not forget that you are born free and you must be thankful. I think the whole notion is a complete facade and it doesn't exist. We might not be as oppressed as our parents were, but this is a whole different type of oppression. Is it as bad? No. Does it share similarities? Yes. And it's these very similarities that are going to repeat the cycle over and over again until we as the youth decide to free ourselves. The exhibition that we did was called Con Heroes, even though the name is very misleading. It was about people during apartheid who sacrificed just as much as these big names, Nelson Mandela, Oliver Tambo, etc., but they were in the streets. You know, they were also just as willing to risk their lives, etc., etc., but they didn't receive all the glory and fame which came after. Instead, they just live amongst us. So what we call them were the uncherished heroes, and then the name Con Heroes comes from constitutional heroes, people who fought for our constitution, who fought for the freedoms which are now enshrined in our constitution. We had a list of people who we could choose from, and I chose a man called Cecil Iso and Shepit Mati and Emil Jansen. So what we did was we interviewed them and we set up a whole exhibition around their story and how their story, even though it might not be as popular as 27 years in prison, but it was just as important to getting us to where we are right now. I think the interview that stood out the most for me was that of Shepit Mati, and maybe it's just because of his personality at the moment. He's such a humble man, he's such a quiet man. You know, he's the type of person, if you walk past him on the street, you would never say this man was in exile, this man was considered a terrorist by the apartheid government. And you know, he told me all these stories of how he was in underground, about how he wore disguises, and you know, if you speak to this man, he would never say. And he told me the stories of his suffering, and it was so genuine, and I think that is what is missing from all these museums, is the real stories. And I think people like him are the building blocks of our democracy at the moment, and he told me about his early days, about when he was a teenager, and you realize how much these people sacrifice. You know, when I recall my childhood and my teenage years, it's filled with dancing and going to the movies, etc., etc., and this man didn't have that. He didn't have that lifestyle. And then you realize, but They weren't just protesting students who were throwing stones at police cars. They sacrificed so much, and it's actually, I don't think you'd be able to understand unless you were in that situation. And his story really had such a profound effect on me, because I thought to myself, you know, I don't think that we are thankful for people like him. You know, we praise Mandela, and yes, wow, they sacrificed a lot, but Mandela was in jail for 27 years. 27 years he was away, he was not part of the struggle. It was people like Shepi Mati who continued, who fought on, even though they didn't think there was hope. And it's people like him who we actually need to be praising, actually need to be thanking.